Wenzhou, Zhejiang, the largest leather factory in Zhejiang, Jiangnan Leather Factory has closed down. Bastard boss Huang He. Huang He touched his head and muttered helplessly to himself, although I am the chairman of Jiangnan Leather Factory, I also owe 350 million yuan, and I have 5 aunts, but I never thought of running away. The story of how a leather factory in Jiangnan broke free from its cocoon and helped Mr. Huang become the world's richest man. Keywords of the novel. The richest man starts from the blind box without pop-ups, the richest man starts from the blind box with the full collection download, and the richest man starts from the blind box with the latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. I am Yellow Crane. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. I am Yellow Crane. Wenzhou, Zhejiang, the largest leather factory in Wenzhou, Zhejiang, Jiangnan Leather Factory has gone bankrupt. The boss of a bastard, Huang He, owed 350 million yuan for food, drink, prostitution, and gambling, and ran away with his sister. Law. We had no choice but to use our wallets to offset our wages. The original prices were all over 300, 200, or 100 yuan, all 20 yuan, all 20 yuan. Yellow Crane King Bastard, you're not a human. We've worked hard for you for half a year, but you didn't pay us a salary. You paid me back the hard-earned money, and you paid me back the hard-earned money. The familiar tone in my mind seemed to constantly ripple. Sitting in my 240 square meter large redwood office, Huang He touched his chin and fell into silence. I actually became a yellow crane, and I really have to run away. The yellow crane is called the yellow crane, but this yellow crane is not that yellow crane. The original Huang He was a tough marketing planner for Huaxia Wandai agents in 2021, but now Huang He has become the chairman of Jiangnan Leather Factory, with fixed assets claimed to be over 100 million yuan. If we don't count the remaining 350 million yuan in foreign debt owed by Huang He. Huang He detested the ghosts and jokes of the Jiangnan Leather Factory in his past life, as it caused him, who had the same name and surname, to endure a lot of ridicule and even asked where his sister. Law was. Oh my goodness, Huang He doesn't even have a girlfriend. Where's the aunt from? Yellow Crane pays back. Yellow Crane pays back. Yellow Crane, give us all our money back. Brother-in-law, what should we do? A somewhat panicked voice rang in Huang He's ear. Huang He looked over and unconsciously swallowed his saliva. A charming woman, although only wearing an ordinary OL uniform and plain makeup, exudes a hint of coquettishness all over her body, especially under the wrap of her overly fitting uniform, revealing her perfect S-shaped devil figure. Gudong. Huang He swallowed his saliva and instinctively asked, "What do you call me?" "Brother-in-law," the beautiful woman exclaimed in panic. "Brother-in-law, don't scare me, you won't be scared into foolishness, will you?" "It's okay, it's okay." Huang He finally understood why he had to run away with his sister. Law in his past life, because he now wants to hold his charming sister. Law and run away. Continuing to stay at this Jiangnan Leather Factory is completely a dead end, running away is the only way to survive. "Brother-in-law, come up with a solution quickly," said the aunt. "Okay, you go and talk to the security guard. I'll go down and communicate with the workers in 10 minutes. Huang He nodded, and the aunt breathed a sigh of relief before quickly leaving. "I want to see. I want to see." Huang He touched his head, but pondered on the way to break the situation. At this moment, a large amount of memories of the yellow crane have integrated into his own mind. Based on these memories, the yellow crane pieced together the life of the original owner of this body. This yellow crane can also be considered as half a wealthy second generation. He had a tough time when he was a child, but since 1988, his parents have been running a leather business, and his family's situation has been getting better and better. Finally, in 1998, Huang He reached the pinnacle of his life. Under the management of his parents, the Jiangnan Leather Factory owned assets worth over 100 million yuan, and he became a true second generation. However, the year 2000 became a turning point in life. In this year, my wife, who had just been married for a year, passed away due to acute leukemia. Misfortune never comes singly, and my parents also passed away due to a car accident. In this way, the entire Jiangnan Leather Factory fell on Huang He, who was only 23 years old at the time. At that time, Huang He was still full of energy and planned to do a big job. He was not satisfied with the wallet product line set up by his parents and launched 3 different production lines: leather shoes, belts, and leather bags. He also borrowed 350 million yuan to expand the production line, expand recruitment, and create his own brand of Jiangnan leather goods. He planned to do a big job. In fact, Huang He is not wrong in doing so. After all, China is about to join the WTO, and orders from all over the world will come one after another. If Jiangnan Leather Factory doesn't succeed, it will take off and become China's Chanel or something. However, Huang He did not wait until the day of joining the WTO. At the end of 2000, almost all the products produced by Jiangnan Leather Factory were in a state of unsold, and the market evaluation was negative. Many cooperating dealers also stopped cooperating. More importantly, the original main business of Jiangnan Leather Factory was to contract some well-known flat brand products. However, due to the fact that Jiangnan Leather Factory wanted to develop its own brand, the brand owners who asked them to contract also withdrew all orders, as they could not cultivate a competitor for themselves. So the Jiangnan Leather Factory fell into a desperate situation, with no orders for 6 consecutive months. However, various products were still being produced continuously, and the products piled up in the warehouse. Until now, the workers have not received their wages for more than 3 months. What's even worse is that now the bank is forcing Huang He to repay the loan, but Huang He's bank account only has less than 100,000 yuan in cash left. So without hesitation, Huang He is dead and has no other way of survival besides running away. Run quickly. Take this 100,000 yuan and your sister.in.law with you. A tempting voice came from inside his head, and Huang He almost couldn't hold it, so he ran away. No, I can't repeat this kind of life. Am I still selling Goddard lucky bags on Taobao like in my previous life? At least there can't be that damn Jiangnan Leather Factory bankrupt in this world anymore. Huang He stood up, clenched his fist, unwilling to relive the joke like life in the lyrics of the song. Calm down. There are 2 biggest problems now. One is the workers below, and there is also 3 months' salary owed to them, which adds up to around 5 million yuan. Another thing is the bank loan. According to the agreement, I must repay 40 million yuan to the bank tomorrow, otherwise it will be a loan default, and the bank has the right to take away all my collateral. As long as I find a way to solve these 2 problems, my Jiangnan Leather Factory can continue to live. Thinking of this, Huang He felt that it was better not to remain calm. Because these 2 issues combined would cost 45 million renminbi to solve, but it will only take less than a day. As for borrowing money, everyone in Wenzhou now knows the situation of Huang He and Jiangnan Leather Factory, and no one would be willing to lend money to Huang He to make a living. Huang He thought for less than a minute and felt a splitting headache. He couldn't live or die, so it was better to run away. Brother-in-law, it's already 10 minutes. The sister.in.law's high heels ticked in a very urgent and crisp voice. I know, let's leave everything to my brother.in.law. Huang He took a deep breath and suddenly pushed open the office door, then walked out with great strides. However, the sister.in.law's face turned red as her little hand was being grabbed by her brother.in.law. My brother.in.law hates it. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Yellow Crane Never Runs Away. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Yellow Crane never runs away. You said our salary won't really run out. I estimate it's uncertain. I heard that the factory owes several billion yuan. Huang He, that kid, is not a human and is about to run away. But didn't his sister.in.law just appear and say, Yellow Crane will come over later. That's to buy time for Yellow Crane to escape, I've seen through it long ago. Outside the office building, thousands of workers are filled with indignation and worry. This is a full 5-month salary, with an average outstanding salary of 8,000 yuan per person. If this money is gone, many people probably won't have to work anymore. In the crowd, Shen Yuechuan clenched his fist tightly. His children had been without food for a day and a night. If he couldn't get any money today, he would have to use his life to give himself justice. Fortunately, the news of Huang He running away was false, as he himself had already appeared in front of everyone. Faced with thousands of angry workers, Huang He's face and forehead were covered in sweat, but he still remained calm. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me apologize to everyone, and then bow to everyone. Huang He bowed directly at the beginning, which made many workers feel a lot more comfortable, but there were also many workers who were ungrateful and loudly said, Huang He, don't think that bowing and apologizing can offset our wages. I ask you, is our factory owing several 100 million yuan? Are you not planning to give us our wages anymore? You're right, and I'm not hiding it from everyone. Now our Jiangnan Leather Factory has indeed owed a large loan, the accurate number is 350 million yuan. This bank loan will expire tomorrow, and our company's account only has 100,000 yuan left. Huang He nodded and said very decisively. Oh my goodness. Many workers who were feeling lucky immediately felt a whirlwind. They couldn't repay a loan of 350 million yuan, and their company account only had 100,000 yuan. Their salary was really beyond their imagination. You're talking nonsense, you can't have only 100,000 yuan. You're lying to us. You want to abscond with the money, don't think we don't know your plan. A clever worker exposed Huang He's idea. The company really only has 100,000 yuan left. You don't know how many materials the company has imported and how many goods it has produced in recent years. Now these goods are all piled up in the warehouse, with 350 million yuan already there. I can't deceive you. Huang He sighed, and many workers on site burst into tears. However, Huang He's voice changed, but I never thought about not paying the wages I owe you. I assure all of you here that I will pay you back every penny of your salary, and also give you an additional 3 months' salary as compensation for the salary owed by our Jiangnan Leather Factory. But if you give me time, I need 3 months' time. It's really fake. Everyone was taken aback and a wave of hope surged in their eyes. Of course, there was still a clever person who exposed Huang He's thoughts and shouted loudly, don't deceive people here. Give you 3 months. You've already taken our hard-earned money and wanted your sister.in.law, running to places where we can't find you. No, I will never run. Yellow Crane, feeling excited, jumped directly onto a large stone lion at the entrance and looked down at everyone, saying, everyone, I Yellow Crane swear to heaven here that I will never run in this lifetime, and I will never run away with my aunt. Wow. The sister.in.law below blushed and looked at the Yellow Crane on the stone lion with a complex expression. Not to mention, the appearance of Yellow Crane is actually quite good. It is quite similar to Wenzhou. Now he is condescending to step on the head of a stone lion. If it is made into a TikTok video, and then refined and cut, it will be absolutely domineering. But I also know everyone's concerns. Without any evidence, I, Huang He, have run away and you have no choice. Therefore, I hereby announce that from today on, I, Huang He, will not go anywhere and will stay in this office building. I will not leave until I pay off the salary I owe you. If you don't trust me, you can send a few representatives over to monitor me all day. Apart from taking a shower, these people who monitor me can monitor me at will. I guarantee this, everyone can rest assured. Huang He said loudly. Speaking of which, there is indeed no need to worry about the problem of Yellow Crane running away. Yellow Crane does not run away and promises to pay a salary within 3 months, as well as an additional 3 months of compensation. This immediately makes many people tempted, and the once towering momentum gradually dissipates. People are like this, only despair can force their strength and resistance, but whenever there is a little hope, they will become kind and hesitant, and ultimately make mistakes. Fortunately, our yellow crane boss really doesn't want to run away with his sister.in.law this time. Chairman Huang, don't blame us for coming over today, and don't blame us for not trusting you. In fact, we also understand the situation in the factory, and we just want to know how you plan to repay this money to us. Uncle Dahlin, the oldest qualified worker among the workers and also an old employee who started the business with Huang He's parents, stood up and asked in a relaxed tone. I have a solution. Huang He said confidently, but there are still some details that I need to think about carefully. In addition, people from the bank should come to me tomorrow, so I hope everyone can gather here again the day after tomorrow. I will explain to you clearly how our Jiangnan Leather Factory can be reborn and how to make up for all of your salaries. Okay. Uncle Lin nodded and touched Huang He's head, then turned to all the workers and said, everyone, give me face, Lin. I'll leave today, leaving only a few young men without a family. We'll stay here with the chairman for a few days. We'll come over the day after tomorrow and listen to the chairman explain it to us clearly. Okay. That's all we can do. Although everyone was still feeling a bit depressed, they lost the motivation to continue the commotion. The crowd began to gradually disperse, and in the end, only a few men named by Uncle Dahlin who were responsible for watching the yellow crane were left behind. Brother-in-law, do you really want to stay here until you pay off your salary? The crowd dispersed and the aunt asked with great concern. Well, as you can see, the workers don't believe me. Apart from that, I have no other way to prove my innocence. Huang He said with a bitter smile. Okay, then I'll go home and have mom prepare clothes, daily necessities, and dinner for you. I'll bring it to you later. The aunt's face was filled with a look of heartache for her brother-in-law. Thank you for your hard work, Mom. You have to take care of my immature son-in-law again. Huang He sighed. Where, if you hadn't taken care of us, 5 sisters would have starved to death. My sister really found the best husband in the world. The words of my sister-in-law were full of emotion and some implications, but Huang He couldn't understand these words at this time. His mind was full of how to solve problems. It wasn't until his aunt drove away that Huang He suddenly realized. Wait, I have 5 aunts. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. You are all my brothers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. You are all my brothers, the food our mother cooks is delicious. Huang He wolfed down the rice in his bowl, crossing over for almost a day. Huang He had not even eaten a decent bite of rice, he was really starving. Brother-in-law, please eat slowly. Mom has made a lot for you, as well as your favorite steamed pork. The sister-in-law sat on the side and looked at Huang He with concern. It can be seen that in order to deliver the food in time, the sister-in-law was very rushed. The light makeup on her face no longer existed, but it further highlighted the delicate skin and a tempting pink touch. Hiccup. Huang He let out a full hiccup and looked around, only to find the 4 young men sitting not far away, watching him, wary of the young man who was running away, looking at the food in Huang He's hand with a hungry and thirsty gaze. Well, these young people haven't eaten anything for a whole day, and the cafeteria in the factory has long been closed. I guess they are also starving. Jirua, you can eat too. Huang He finally remembered his sister-in-law's name, Liang Jirua, a very beautiful name. Later, Huang He specifically asked his mother-in-law if his father-in-law was particularly fond of watching Heaven's Sword and Dragon Saber. It was only then that he found out that his father-in-law was illiterate, did not watch TV dramas, and did not know what Zhejiang was. He spent $1 to hire a fortune teller to obtain a name, saying that as long as there was Ji in the name, it would be an excellent name. If it were put in the past, it would be the fate of the empress. This makes Yellow Crane want to roast that his 5 sister.in.law all have Xi characters, and there will be 5 empresses that day. Liang Zhirua nodded. She had originally planned to eat with her brother.in.law, but to her surprise, his brother.in.law waved to a few people not far away and smiled, saying, "Come on, everyone come and eat together." The people who were monitoring Yellow Crane hesitated a bit, and Huang He smiled even more brightly. "Come here, everyone. You are still my workers, and I am still your chairman. As the chairman, I cannot let my workers go hungry. You all come here. My mother.in.law's craftsmanship is really not wrong." Upon hearing Huang He's words, coupled with his hungry stomach, several young men who were monitoring approached shyly. Huang He then gave a few orders to Liang Zhirua, and Liang Zhirua nodded before leaving. "Come on, let's eat, it's delicious." At the greeting of the Yellow Crane, the 4 young people went from being shy and hesitant at the beginning to devouring the food like wolves and swallowing it with a speed that even the Yellow Crane was a bit stunned. They ate the originally large portion of food in the blink of an eye. And it looks like they haven't eaten enough yet, eagerly looking at the empty plate. Fortunately, Huang He was already prepared, and Liang Zhirua came back soon, carrying a dozen or so packaged fast food on Huang He's table. In addition, there was actually a box of beer, and several young people gratefully glanced at Huang He. "Come on, let's have a toast today." Huang He raised his glass, which was actually a disposable water glass, and several young people quickly lifted it up, then drank it all in one gulp. "We are gathered here today because of fate. I don't know the names of a few brothers yet. Let's introduce ourselves first." Huang He smiled and the 4 young people began to introduce themselves. Among them, the tallest and longest one is also the most gentle. The one wearing glasses is called Lu Xiangjiang, who is a college student. The shortest but strongest person is called Shen Yuan, who is only 22 years old but already the father of 3 children. A seemingly foolish and somewhat obese person named Jia Sangu has the most honest personality, but also the most greedy. The last one is called Zhang Yinghua, who should be the most clever among everyone, with a cunning look in his eyes. They are all young people under the age of 25. "Chairman, you're not trying to get us drunk, so you can sneak away on your own." After 3 rounds of drinking, cunning Zhang Yinghua smiled and asked jokingly. "I really want to escape on my own, but if I do, my home, family, friends, and career will all be gone, and even my identity will disappear. I don't want to escape." Huang He shook his head. "Boss, can you really raise enough for our wages?" It can be seen that Shen Yuan is most anxious about money, as he has 3 children to support. "To be honest, it's difficult, and I don't have confidence myself." Huang He shook his head and everyone's eyes were disappointed, but Huang He immediately said, "If it's any harder, how can you know what the result is without trying? Besides, we don't lack capital either. On the contrary, we still have a large amount of capital in our hands. As long as we use it properly, let alone settle your wages, we can even make a comeback and achieve even greater success than before. Each of you can double your salary and become a senior executive of the company, creating a great cause together." Huang He's eyes were filled with infinite confidence, which made everyone's hearts surge with excitement. These days, the people are still innocent and don't know what painting pancakes and lying flat are. As long as they get chicken blood, they can fly. Come on, there's no basis for words. You guys come with me to the warehouse and I'll show you the capital of our company. Huang He said loudly, and a few people responded in unison. Even his sister.in.law, Liang Zhirua, jumped up and walked out of the warehouse with a few people. Turn on the lighting in the warehouse, and in an instant, the whole world becomes bright. Inside the warehouse, which covers an area of nearly 3 acres, there are neatly stacked rows of neatly stacked paper boxes, filling the entire warehouse to the brim, with no visible empty space. Zhirua, tell me, how much goods are there here? Huang He asked loudly. Yes, sister. Chairman, we have accumulated a full year of production here, with a total of 18 million various types of leather wallets, 10 million belts, 6 million pairs of leather shoes, and 4 million leather jackets. How much is it worth and the cost? Huang He asked again. If calculated at cost, the leather wallet costs 2 yuan per piece, a total of 36 million yuan, the belt costs 3 yuan per piece, a total of 30 million yuan, the leather shoes cost 10 yuan per pair, a total of 60 million yuan, and the leather jacket is the most expensive, costing 16 yuan, a total of 64 million yuan, adding up to a cost of 190 million yuan. Excluding the equipment, factory, and land purchased, our 350 million loan is all here. This is the cost price. If calculated based on our factory price, the leather wallet is 5 yuan, with a total price of 90 million yuan, the belt is 8 yuan, with a total price of 80 million yuan, the leather shoes are 20 yuan, with a total price of 120 million yuan, and the leather jacket is 40 yuan, with a total price of 160 million yuan, with a total price of 450 million yuan. The secretary's work is still very competent, and various data are presented without any hesitation. That is to say, if we can clear all the backlog in the warehouse according to the factory price, we can not only pay off 350 million yuan in debt, but also earn 100 million yuan, right? That's right. Liang nodded, but her heart was filled with helplessness. The numbers were placed here, and anyone could calculate. But the problem was, these goods couldn't be shipped at all. Otherwise, if it were so easy to ship, how could Jiangnan Leather Factory face the current difficulties? Not bad, Huang He seems to have completely forgotten these things. He turned around and looked at the 4 young people behind him who were scared by the billions of dollars. He said in a voice full of temptation, "Everyone, from today on, you will be my brothers of Huang He. As long as we brothers work together to clear all these inventory, not only will your salary be turned back, but you will also become my partners and executives of Jiangnan Leather Factory. With tens of thousands of yuan in salary, we will marry by Fume and reach the peak of our lives." End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Moneyman in Debt. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Moneyman in Debt. President, do you think that Yellow Crane has already run away? Someone said anxiously in a moving Audi car. I don't think so. I heard that the workers were already blocked in the office building by Huang He yesterday, and now there are still workers staring at him. He can't run away. The vice president of GS Bank said calmly, but the faint sadness between his eyebrows couldn't be erased no matter what. Hey, it's actually the same whether it runs or not. This Yellow Crane definitely won't be able to pay a penny. We can only use his mortgaged factory buildings, inventory, and other assets to offset the debt, but how much money can these things be worth? By the way, I heard that thousands of people have defaulted on their wages this time. After these mortgages are sold, most of the money will have to be paid to these workers first. After all, stability is more important than anything else. It is estimated that our 350 million yuan will be reduced to zero by then, which is considered lucky. You shut up, young and gentle, why do you have so much to say? The vice president scolded angrily, and the greedy subordinate immediately closed his mouth. The mentality of this vice president is explosive, because he agreed to approve this loan in the beginning. He thinks that Huang He looks quite capable, and he is still a turtle returning to China. His knowledge is definitely different and he has a promising future. Of course, the most crucial thing is that there is a loan task in the bank, and he must lend out the money, so he signed a loan contract of 350 million yuan with Jiangnan Leather Factory. But how happy it was when the contract was signed, and how bad his mood is now. If he can't collect this 350 million yuan, he probably will have to retire early. But he's only 50 years old, he still has 15 years left. Amidst endless worries, the vice president still arrived at the entrance of the Jiangnan Leather Factory. However, what he didn't expect was that there would be no one to greet him and he would be treated as a plague god. Unexpectedly, Huang He had already waited at the door early, personally welcoming himself with a few people and warmly introducing himself into his office. He had dealt with too many borrowers who couldn't afford to pay back money before. These guys either ran far away, making it impossible for you to find him, or were extremely cold. After a few conversations, they kept crying and saying that they didn't have a penny, and everything was up to the court. He just didn't have the money to pay back. They have already gone bankrupt anyway, and whether you are the bank president or not is completely different from when you take out a loan. The unexpected enthusiasm of Huang He now makes this vice president feel much more comfortable. But no matter how comfortable it is, the most difficult issue still needs to be discussed. Chairman Huang, it's time for you to repay the money, said the vice president. I know. Huang He nodded. I should return the first batch of funds to your bank today, totaling 80 million yuan. I know. Do you have money to pay back? Hey, Chairman Huang, our bank doesn't have any surplus either. What are you saying? The vice president suddenly felt as if he had heard something wrong. I have money to pay back. Huang He smiled and said. Really? The vice president confirmed with great surprise. As sure as fate, when will you transfer the money? 3 months later. The vice president's voice froze, and after a while, he snorted coldly, so Chairman Huang is waiting for me here. If you want to extend it for 3 months, it's not possible, it's impossible. Okay. Huang He hesitated and said, I don't care anymore. Look at what's valuable here, then take it all. Anyway, all my assets are here. If it's okay, I'll stay in prison for a few more years. How much money I can recover depends on your abilities. Aren't you playing tricks? The vice president became anxious. President Wang, am I being dishonest? You know better than me that all my funds are processed through your GS bank. How much money do I have left? Don't you know? I am now stuck here by workers, and I have no money left. There is only this broken jar left. Either you smash my broken jar, or you give me 3 months' time. After 3 months, I promise to find a way to return the first 80 million to you. Huang He was completely confident at this moment. Through the influence of various officialdom and financial articles in later generations, Huang He fully understands that it is the master who owes money. He now owes 350 million yuan, and he is actually the master. He wouldn't be afraid of a small vice president. Why do I believe you can repay the money within 3 months? The vice president questioned. This is a delaying strategy. After 3 months, you may have run away without a trace. Whatever I say at this moment, you will doubt me. Huang He smiled slightly, but if you seal me down now, you will only get a maximum of 50 million yuan in assets. If you come back to seal me down in 3 months, you can still get 50 million yuan, or you can get 80 million yuan in repayment. Huang He dug out his ear. President Wang, in fact, everyone is not doing well now. Your GS bank in Wenzhou has been unable to recover dozens of billions of loans, right? A large part of it belongs to your president. But if you recover the loan from me, then you are the only person in the entire GS bank who can recover the loan. This is a unique achievement, don't you want it? This. Vice President Wang hesitated for a moment. Although he felt that 99% of Huang He was farting and delaying time to run away, he couldn't help but want to agree to Huang He when he thought about the 1% possibility of repaying the money and the glory after recovering the loan. This is human nature. In the darker times, any ray of light can evoke immense hope, or in other words, a desire to gamble. Take a gamble. What if the money can be collected? President Wang, if you seal down my leather factory now, not to mention it will be 3 months later, even if it is 30 years later, I will not have 100% money to repay you. Huang He said coldly beside him. Okay, I'll give you 3 months. Vice President Wang finally made up his mind and said, no matter what, give it a try and turn a bicycle into a motorcycle. And even if you lose, it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to retire early yet. Then I'll go. Vice President Wang came empty-handed and was also going back empty-handed. Wait a minute. Huang He called out to Vice President Wang. President Wang, the company only has 100,000 left, and my future business plan cannot be developed. Would you like to lend me another 1 million so that I can make a temporary turnover? Do you think I'm a fool? Vice President Wang looked at Huang He like a madman. With this 1 million, your 80 million and 350 million will come back. Huang He said seriously, otherwise, you'd better seal me up now. I really can't do it. Vice President Wang shook his head. This is a policy issue. If I make this mistake, I will go in. It's okay, it's not a loan in the name of our company. Huang He smiled and said, my sister-in-law has a 40 square meter house in her hands. Borrowing 1 million yuan is enough, isn't it? Okay. Vice President Wang gritted his teeth and said. A 40 square meter house in Wenzhou has a new housing market price of less than 150,000 yuan. Thank you, President Wang. However, the speed must be fast, and it can be approved within at least 3 days. I'm waiting for it urgently. Okay. Vice President Wang was about to bite off his teeth. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Overall Sales Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Overall Sales Plan. On the third day, the workers who had left before gathered again at the entrance of the company's office building, wanting to hear how the chairman intended to solve the problem this time. However, when they arrived at the entrance of the office building, they were notified to gather in the warehouse. When they arrived at the warehouse, they found that a piece of land had already been cleared, and Huang He was looking at everyone with a smile on his face. And upon seeing the yellow crane, everyone's anxious hearts also relaxed, at least this guy didn't run away. Soon the agreed time arrived, and Huang He clapped his hands and said, all right, those who didn't come don't care about them. Let's start my business. First of all, I have good news to share with you that the bank has taken into account our company's actual difficulties and has agreed to postpone our loan repayment for 3 months. This will allow our company to live for an additional 3 months, and we have 3 months to bring everything back to life. Chairman, how exactly do you plan to bring us back to life? Someone immediately asked eagerly. It's very simple. I believe everyone has also seen the piles of goods around us, which is the capital for us to come back to life. We just need to work together and sell a part of these piled-up goods within 3 months, and then we can immediately repay everyone's wages, while also allowing you to make another big profit on your own. Huang He smiled. MD, I thought you had some great idea. Daring is just selling goods. Huang He, do you think we are fools? If these rotten goods can be sold, will they still pile up here? That is to say, no company in the entire market is willing to accept our goods now, and all our distributors have been revoked. Where can we sell our goods? Everyone, I understand the meaning of this unscrupulous businessman. He wants to use the inventory of garbage in the warehouse as his salary to offset us, just like last year's Jiangnan Leather Factory. Good guy, I'm an uncle who owed him 20,000 yuan in salary. As a result, I gave him 200 pairs of leather shoes at a price of 100 yuan per pair. He said he only needed to sell them in the market to get back all his salary. He also said that the retail price is 200 yuan and he can earn a net income of 20,000 yuan. As a result, those leather shoes have been piled up at home for a year now. My aunt is so angry that she divorced her uncle. Those tattered shoes can't be sold, no one wants them. Someone jumped out on the spot, angrily pointing out Huang He's conspiracy. The people present were not fools either, and many of them understood. As a result, the atmosphere at the scene began to become irritable and agitated. Some people jumped up and shouted, we only want wages, not goods. TNND, I'll kill you, this scammer. Huang He, I'm going to kill you. Everyone, be quiet. Suddenly, a sharp and thunderous sound exploded inside the already closed warehouse, startling everyone and causing their eardrums to crack. The entire scene suddenly became quiet. Sorry, I'm sorry. Cold Jiroa, whose voice was like that of Optimus Prime just now, lowered her head hesitantly and quickly handed the microphone inside her hand to Huang He. Behind her was also a set of karaoke equipment with many stickers, including a photo of Cold Jiroa himself with a large head sticker. Daring to feel cold, if all the karaoke in her own home has been moved over. However, the quality of this karaoke machine is quite excellent, and the sound is loud enough to shock the entire scene. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please listen to me finish speaking first? Huang He said with a bitter smile, not bad. Our way out is indeed to sell these goods, but as the colleague just said, I will treat these goods as my salary to offset you. I promise you here that I will pay you back a lot of your salary in 3 months' time, and I will also compensate you with an additional 3 months bonus, all in cash and not a single piece of leather material. Huang He's words immediately calmed the people on site. But some people were puzzled and asked, so why do you say we work together to sell goods? Because your next 3 months' work is to help sell these goods in the factory. Huang He patted the boxes of leather goods beside him and said, in the next 3 months, the factory will stop working, but you are still the workers in the factory. Your task will change from working on the production line to helping me sell goods and going through the streets to sell goods to me. I see. Everyone suddenly realized, and the emotional yellow crane planned to have all the workers sell their goods, which seemed to be a solution. But Chairman, we only know how to work, not how to sell things. That's right, I have to go through the streets and alleys to sell goods. It's like losing my life. I can't do this job. Many workers are still very resistant. After all, selling goods through the streets and alleys is a very difficult job for many people, and the first thing is that face cannot be wiped away. Also, you don't know how many leather goods factories we have in Wenzhou. We Wenzhou people don't know how to buy leather goods. A small Wenzhou can't even digest 1/1000th of our inventory. Someone objected. Well, you're right about that question, so I have a question for everyone. How many of you are locals from Wenzhou, and how many of you come to work in Wenzhou? If you're friends with locals from Wenzhou, just stand there. If you're friends from other places, please squat down. Huang He asked in response. Although they didn't understand what Huang He wanted to do, many people still squatted down in an instant. Don't ask, don't know. When asked, more than 80% of the people present squatted down, they were all outsiders. This is also normal. In 2001, Wenzhou was the busiest time when a large number of workers from outside the city flooded into Wenzhou to work. Most of the local people in Wenzhou became wealthy, and even if they didn't, their relatives also became wealthy. They all worked in their relatives' factories, and the vast majority of those on the front line were outsiders. Very good, everyone stand up. Huang He smiled, everyone must be very homesick for coming to work in Wenzhou so hard. So today, I, Huang He, will pay to buy you train tickets and take you all home. Hey, don't worry for now. I'm not driving you away because I bought you round-trip tickets. You all need to come back in 3 months. Meanwhile, during these 3 months, everyone is still working, and I, Huang He, will still calculate your salary. Why is this? Is it me, Yellow Crane fool? Of course not, because each of you must bring back goods worth 10,000 and sell them to me. Someone just said, our market in Wenzhou is saturated, and that's right. So I need you to go back to your own hometown, back to the places you are familiar with, and borrow, rent, or buy a tricycle. Take our goods and go through the streets to sell them to me. Huang He slowly spoke out his plan for nationwide sales, while all the workers on site looked at Huang He in confusion. What if no one buys it? This is a question in everyone's heart. Hello, is anyone there? The cardboard boxes you ordered have arrived. Just as everyone was confused about their future, a driver also walked in, holding a delivery note and looking at the warehouse full of people, asking cautiously. Our precious box is here. Yellow Crane let out a hearty laugh, as if he was not sending cardboard boxes, but boxes of gold. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The Birth of Blind Boxes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The Birth of Blind Boxes. In charge, do we really want to go back to our hometown? You've already been on the train, why bother asking such nonsense? Shen Yuechuan replied unhappily as he listened to his wife's constant questioning. After all, anyone who has been nagged all the way can't bear it. So we don't want our salary anymore? My wife asked unwillingly. Yes, of course we do. We will return to Wenzhou in 3 months. The chairman said that he will return our salary in 3 months. Shen Yuechuan explained helplessly for the 10th time, and this time we didn't come back by ourselves. We also came back together with 30,000 yuan of goods. You don't know how much the chairman trusts us. Others can only get 10,000 yuan worth of goods at once, and only I, Shen Yuechuan, can get 30,000 yuan worth of goods. This is the chairman's trust in us. Pooh, what kind of 30,000 yuan worth of goods? I don't think you can even sell 3,000 yuan. You must have been deceived. The chairman used these goods to offset your debt and then coaxed you back to your hometown in northeast China, so he can escape, said the daughter-in-law angrily. Shut up, don't say anything bad about the chairman. Shen Yuechuan suddenly became angry and said, the chairman is such a good person. How could he deceive us? You don't know, he mortgaged his sister-in-law's house and borrowed 1 million yuan, otherwise he wouldn't even have the money to buy us a train ticket back home. And the chairman has already given us a set of winning selling skills, called blind. Blind. What's the point? Forget it, it's just the ultimate selling skill. The chairman said, as long as we work hard enough, in no more than a month, we will sell all the 30,000 yuan in our hands. Bullshit, if he had this winning skill, he would have sold all the goods long ago, and there's nothing else to do with you. My wife was still full of resentment, but Shen Yuechuan was too lazy to explain anything anymore. He just silently watched the scenery outside the window, from the south of a small family to the north of a big family, and then to the extremely powerful northeast. On the first day of returning to his hometown, he first met his long-lost parents and had a tearful reunion dinner. Then, he entrusted his 3 children to his parents for care. Shen Yuechuan plunged into the familiar street and borrowed a tricycle directly from an old neighbor. This tricycle has been around for some years, and it was bought by the old neighbor when he was a shopkeeper for transporting goods. Now it has become dilapidated. However, this northeast man, who had both hands and feet, and was also clever, spent a day tidying up the tricycle as if it were brand new. Not only did I fix the wheels and oil them, but I also specially wrote a few words on them with paint, and found some wooden boards as signs. Finally, I calculated that time was running out, so I rode my bike to the freight department and dragged back boxes one by one. There were a lot of these things, and Shen Yuechuan transported all 5 tricycles before bringing them back home. He then directly mobilized his parents, idle children, and his wife to help. Hurry up, you guys help me fold the boxes. Shen Yuechuan first took out cardboard boxes and asked them to stack them into one by one. Oh my goodness, how many boxes are there? My wife asked in surprise as she saw the paper boxes that were still flat and had not been pieced together. There were already 20 stacks piled up, each stack almost reaching the ceiling. Not much, that's just 3,000 boxes. Shen Yuechuan said, didn't I say that? The boss approved 30,000 yuan of goods for me, and these paper boxes are used for loading. Speaking, Shen Yuechuan pointed to another pile of boxes at home, which were different from the unopened paper boxes. These were already packaged finished products, including a small box of wallets, a belt of about the same size, and a larger size box for leather shoes and clothes. These were almost all the flagship products of Jiangnan Leather Factory. You need 3,000 cardboard boxes to pack 30,000 yuan worth of goods. Can't your boss just pack 10 yuan worth of goods in one box, said the wife in shock. I really called you that. Not bad, this box only holds 10 yuan worth of goods. No, it's only for 10 yuan. Shen Yuechuan said as he stacked a box himself, picked up a wallet, and put it inside the box. Then he started packing and sealed the box with tape. As the head of the household, even if we have 3,000 cardboard boxes, you can't waste them like this. This cardboard box can hold 30 wallets. Why don't you only pack one box? Isn't this a waste, said the daughter-in-law with concern. I also feel heartbroken, but the boss said that no matter how many things are packed in this box, they are only sold for 10 yuan per box. Are you willing to put 2 wallets inside? Shen Yuechuan smiled. That's not possible. The daughter-in-law shook her head decisively, and even selling 10 yuan in one wallet was a bit of a loss, let alone 2. Alright, just follow my instructions and come and help me pack it quickly. We need to pack at least 200 boxes today and sell them in the market tomorrow. If we can sell half of them, we can get rich. Shen Yuechuan said happily. Can this thing sell 100 units a day? My wife expressed great skepticism. She picked up the packaged cardboard box and found that it had a very clean exterior, with only the words, Jiangnan Leather Factory, on the front. I can't see any extra words. But when the daughter-in-law saw the back, she saw 2 somewhat shocking seals. The WZ Leather Association seal and the WZ Migrant Workers Protection Plan approval. Be good, head of the family. This box cannot belong to the public, can it? We cannot use it casually, it will break the law. Rolling Duzi, the WZ Leather Association is a non-governmental organization. As for the Migrant Worker Protection Plan, we actually initiated our own protection plan in our factory. You can rest assured that there is no legal risk involved. Shen Yuechuan said. What are these 2 scary things on top of the box for? Asked the daughter-in-law in confusion. Well, actually I don't quite understand, but our chairman said that this thing is just like the 2 words, special supply, on the Moutai label. It doesn't seem to have any use for a penny, but in reality, it's for big orders. Shen Yuechuan said happily. The daughter-in-law nodded vaguely, and then roast, you said that this box is strange, except for these 2 lines of strange words, there is nothing outside, and you don't know what is inside. How can you sell it? What can you do if you take it wrong? The chairman said, only by not knowing what is inside can someone buy it, just like a blind person who is very curious when touching any box because he doesn't know what is inside. Pop. Shen Yuechuan slammed his thigh fiercely. I remember, the chairman once said, this kind of box is called a blind box. Oh. The daughter-in-law nodded, although she couldn't understand what it meant, she felt very impressive. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Try not to use it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Try not to use it, P.S. The author Jun's northeastern dialect was learned from Xiaoping, so it is definitely not standard. Here, I have the courage to write it. If any brothers from the northeast find something wrong, don't blame them. Please be more understanding. SY Xingxuan Market is the largest market in SY City. During the day, various individual merchants gather here, and at night, there is a food street. No one in SY is unaware of this large market. Especially now in 2001, urban management will not be fully popularized until 2007, when the Olympic Games are approaching. Therefore, SY City is still experiencing great commercial development. For some street vendors, as long as they do not block traffic, cause significant social impact, or pose special dangers, they generally do not manage them. So as long as you have a tricycle and some cheap things from the south, you can immediately become a proud individual. On October 9, 2001, on this ordinary day, a newcomer appeared in the Xinxuan market, pulling a tricycle full of boxes, as if there were many things on it. But strangely, these boxes are not big in size, and there are no signs on them. They only have the name of Jiangnan Leather Factory and 2 lines of small characters, and nothing else is known. This quickly caught the attention of many people around, and someone nearby immediately asked, "Hey buddy, what are you selling?" "Brother, you're new here and may not know the rules yet. You can set up a stall here, but you can't steal the business of other guys. You can't sell duplicate items within 50 meters. These people all looked uneasy. "Oh, I'm selling blind boxes," said the newcomer with a smile. "Blind box, what's this thing?" A few people around were stunned, and then they saw Shen Yuechuan pull out a wooden sign from the car, with several big words written in chalk on it. "Blind box for leather goods, 10 yuan per piece, a wallet as small as 20 yuan, a real leather coat as large as 3,000 yuan per piece, everything inside. Buying 1 guarantees not to lose money, and buying 10 can earn you cramps." Then the newcomer pulled out another sign, with a large 10 yuan text in the center and the following sentence. "Only sell for 10 yuan, all blind boxes are only sold for 10 yuan. I seem to understand now, isn't this just like a lottery?" The street vendor didn't have a fool, they quickly understood the meaning behind it. "It seems a bit interesting, I want to buy one and try it out." Someone jumped over and tried. "Cut, these are all deceiving people. Do you believe it or not? You coward bought 10 of them, all of which were leather clips. I can't see if you're crying to death. But 10 yuan per wallet is also quite cheap. The one selling wallets in Dongtu costs the cheapest 15 yuan per wallet. Damn it, you seem to be making a lot of money by saying that. I only bought one, and even if I win the wallet, I won't lose." A few nearby street vendors who were watching unexpectedly found themselves the first to be tempted, but they were selling things. How could they have taken the initiative to buy something from others? This is really embarrassing. And they are also very curious about how this new thing called blind box is selling. "Don't be fooled by how attractive this looks, but it definitely doesn't sell well," said a veteran who had been running a stall for 10 years confidently. "We clumsy people don't have any other skills, but they are just clever thieves. If they don't see the actual thing, they will definitely not pay. If you put these things in a box and don't show them to others, then someone will buy his things and there will be ghosts." Sure enough, this veteran's experience is indeed rich. Several decades have passed, and although many passers-by are curious about the neat and mysterious packaging of these boxes, many people have taken the initiative to inquire, asking if it is possible to open a box and see what is inside. If it is genuine, then buy it. The results were all rejected by Shen Yuechuan, who said in proficient northeastern dialect that the box was sealed and everything inside was random. Only by spending money can it be opened, and if not purchased, it must not be opened. Moreover, after purchasing, he never accepts returns or refunds for non-quality issues. In summary, as long as the box is opened, unless there is a quality issue, there is no way to regret it. As soon as this attitude comes out, many people immediately give up buying. After all, 10 yuan was not considered a small money in 2001. Who would be willing to buy something invisible or untouchable? After watching for almost an hour, Shen Yuechuan hesitated for a moment and gritted his teeth before pulling out a large horn from the tricycle. If you feel like you can't open your mouth when selling goods, or if you don't have any customers coming to your door and your business is not doing well, then use this. Just turn on the loop play button on the speaker, and I'll record an advertising slogan for you inside. This large speaker was distributed to all the workers who decided to go out and sell goods by Huang He before departure. But when Huang He took out this horn, his expression was very hesitant and conflicted. Looking at this horn, his expression was also very painful, as if there was some devil inside it. Remember, only use it when business is not doing well, otherwise try not to use it. Huang He said reluctantly in the end. Shen Yuechuan is an honest person. Seeing Huang He's expression of embarrassment, he really doesn't intend to use it. But in this difficult situation to open up, Shen Yuechuan still decided to pull out this powerful weapon that Huang He claimed to have the ability to instantly turn the situation around. In fact, Shen Yuechuan himself was also curious about what was inside this loudspeaker that would make Yellow Crane so difficult. He also wanted to hear what was inside. So Shen Yuechuan pressed the looping playback button on the loudspeaker, and a random voice clip engraved in the DNA of many people in later generations appeared. Wenzhou, Zhejiang, the largest leather factory in Wenzhou, Zhejiang, Jiangnan Leather Factory has gone bankrupt. The boss of the bastard, Huang He, owed 350 million yuan for food, drink, prostitution, and gambling, and ran away with his sister. Law. We had no choice but to use the goods as compensation for our wages. The original prices were all over 100, 500, and several thousand yuan for various leather goods, all of which cost 10 yuan. These leather goods are all foreign trade goods that have been sealed off by relevant units. There are magical blind boxes only available in foreign countries, and each piece is individually packaged and sealed. We don't know what is inside, but the cheapest one inside is a 20 yuan calf leather wallet, as well as a 50 yuan real cow tendon belt, a 200 yuan pair of top-layer cowhide leather shoes, and a 2,000 yuan piece of foreign trade leather clothes. Now all 10 yuan, everything inside is possible. Yellow Crane King Bastard, you are not a human, we have worked hard for you for half a year, you don't pay me wages, you pay me back the hard-earned money, and everything is possible. My hard-earned money. End of this chapter. Chapter 8, I didn't mention which one to take for a run. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8, I didn't mention which one to take for a run. The boss is really cruel to himself. After listening to this passage, Shen Yuechuan was completely dumbfounded. He never expected that Huang He would hate him so much. As soon as this thing spread, Huang He might not just lose his reputation. Moreover, this sounds like the original voice of Huang He himself, and it was definitely recorded by Huang He with his own voice. I'm all for you. Thinking of Huang He's resolute expression when he handed over these recorded loudspeakers to him, Shen Yuechuan felt his heart filled with emotion. How many bosses insult their own personality to help them sell goods and work hard to pay them wages? How can such bosses not work hard for them? However, Shen Yuechuan suddenly licked his lips. If we could run away with the chairman's sister. Law, it seems like even if there's nothing left, it wouldn't be a loss. Jirua, don't get angry. There's no other way. Otherwise, their work will be difficult to carry out. At this moment, in the factory in Wenzhou, Huang He was facing his angry aunt, Liang. The news finally reached Liang's ears, and in the worst possible way, it was through the gossip of her neighbors. When she returned home yesterday, she found that many of her neighbors were pointing fingers at her. She vaguely heard words like eloping for her brother. Law, which made Liang's face turn red. At first, she thought it was just gossip, but when she returned home, the fourth sister suddenly whispered to her, asking if she had already made plans to run away with her brother. Law. It was only then that she realized something was wrong. Later, Sime listened to a recording for her and said that someone had posted it on QQ, which was recorded in Yuqing City, and many people knew about it. What is QQ? Liang asked in confusion. It's the latest online chat software, it's quite user-friendly. Several of our classmates are using this software. Fourth sister smiled and said. Liang, don't forget that you are now a third-year high school student and are about to take the college entrance examination. Don't use any computers every day to affect your studies. Liang keenly noticed the key points. Sister, what are you overthinking? I'm not using the computer for fun, I'm just studying. You don't know, there are many study materials on the internet now, and there are also some past college entrance exam questions. I only use the computer for studying. Liang Zhiga immediately said in a aggrieved voice. Oh, I'm sorry, sister blamed you. Liang Zhirua nodded in trust. Unfortunately, this is probably the last trust parents have in computers. In a few years, no one will believe that their children use computers to search for learning materials online. Although there was already a crooked building, Liang Zhirua secretly went to the neighboring city of Licheng and the location mentioned on QQ. As expected, she saw several people selling her own blind boxes, one of whom was particularly familiar. It was one of the 4 young people who had taken care of her brother-in-law before, named Zhang Yingguo. Well, the northeast is quite far from Wenzhou. When Yuan started selling, it had actually been 5 days. And Yueqing city is very close, only 100 kilometers away, so Zhang Yingguo actually started selling blind boxes 5 days ago. After 5 days of transmission, it is normal for them to reach Liang Zhirua's ears. Liang Zhirua forced Zhang Yingguo into questioning, and only after Zhang Yingguo honestly explained everything, did she realize that these impure things were actually orchestrated by her brother-in-law. Moreover, it seems that these hundreds of large speakers were personally purchased from Wenzhou Dafang Audio Products Factory on the next street for 10 yuan each. Thinking of this, Liang Zhirua became very angry and rushed directly to Huang He, questioning her brother-in-law for what he had done. As for Huang He, he had already guessed that such a day would come, so he immediately revealed a bitter-gourd face and explained. Nonsense, even if their work is difficult to carry out, can you give them a loudspeaker and record such a piece of music, and their business will be easy to do. Cold Zhirua's saliva sprayed onto Huang He's face. Good Zhirua, what I'm saying is all facts. The simplest truth is, if you go to the street and see 2 companies selling the same thing, one boss sits quietly without saying a word, and the other boss is eloquent, boasting wildly, and even warmly inviting you to take a look. Which one would you choose? Of course. But this recording. This recording is the key. Our people used to be workers, and they could work overtime for a week without complaint. However, if you make them solicit customers in public and loudly demand to buy, it will be very difficult. This is an issue that cannot be overcome in a short period of time. Moreover, they are not doing business for themselves, but helping the factory sell. How much enthusiasm they can have is also imaginable. That's why I prepared this big horn for them, so even if they don't want to speak themselves, there's something to speak for them. This can solve many problems. Huang He's explanation left Liang Zhirua speechless, and she could only nod her head and say, okay, even if you're right about this, can't you sell it well? Why did you go bankrupt, eat, drink, gamble, and make yourself so miserable? Do you want your reputation? What's reputation? As long as I can survive this disaster, what kind of reputation do I want? Huang He patted his chest, as if he were a martyr who sacrificed himself for the revolution. Zhirua, actually calling buy is just the first step to success. Almost all merchants in the market are the best at calling buy. If our speaker only plays the simplest advertising slogans, it is ineffective and cannot attract customers' attention. So our advertising slogan needs to be skillful. Look, the first thing is that it goes bankrupt, which is very attractive. Nowadays, everyone likes to hear stories about people going bankrupt. Then the boss ran away and the goods were used to offset wages, which was very important. The customer's first reaction upon hearing this was that these goods must be very cheap, selling at cost price, even cheaper than cost price. Then there are foreign trade orders. Nowadays, Chinese people have a concept that what is sold abroad is good goods, and the quality of this batch of goods is definitely not bad. Finally, it's time to pay back my hard-earned money. It's still a painful period of reform and opening up, and many people have experienced the hardships of being laid off and unable to receive wages. They can empathize and sympathize with these workers who cannot receive wages. This has brought a lot of distance. If it's not my brother-in-law, I'll brag. When this advertisement rings, people around us will gather to watch the excitement, and our business will be better. Huang He said, although it was very nonsensical, it was actually true. After all, it was able to spread in China for 20 years, creating a voice and memory engraved in DNA like Huang He and Jiangnan Leather Factory. The charm of this advertisement itself, as well as the analysis, understanding, and response to customer pain points, are all absolutely top-notch. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been the hottest time. Half of the chairmen of all the vendors in China ran away with their aunts, and Huang He wouldn't even be afraid that his name would seriously damage his reputation. Even though he hated this voice the most in his past life, he still created it himself. After all, no one would be unable to get along with money. Why did you add something small to this paragraph? When did I run away with you? Cold Jirua pouted and stomped her feet, looking aggrieved. I haven't run with you yet, but others thought I had run with you and didn't get anything. I just polluted my innocence. Sobbing. I'm really too difficult. Liang Jirua cried in frustration, oh, there's nothing I can do. The masses and readers are too vulgar. They just like brother.in.law and sister.in.law, and I can't do anything about it. Huang He also looked helpless and aggrieved, and then added, I have 5 sister.in.law, and I didn't say which one it is. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. First Customer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 First Customer. P.S. Regarding the disastrous investment loss in the previous book, the author is very sorry. When I was a eunuch, I did not consider the issue of reader investment and did not fully understand it. If I knew about it, I would definitely update it for at least 30 days. I promise not to make such mistakes in the future. On this side, while Huang He was still tidying up the mess for his momentary pleasantries, Shen Yuan on the other side found himself surrounded by the masses and unable to extricate himself. It has to be admitted that the assassin's mace given by Huang He was not very effective. When the demonic voice sounded, all the newcomers around felt as if their bodies had been cast with magic, involuntarily approaching Shen Yuan's booth. Your boss really ran away with his sister.in.law. The first person who gathered around didn't care about the box, but was concerned about this issue first. I really ran away. Shen Yuan immediately said confidently, these are all goods from our factory. Our factory specializes in foreign trade, and these are all foreign trade orders. The cheapest one among them is priced at $20 in the United States. Do these boxes really only cost 10 yuan each? Are they at least genuine leather bags inside? The onlookers looked at the billboard again and asked. If you buy something cheaper than a leather bag, I will refund you immediately and you can take it back. Shen Yuan's selling talent began to awaken. Really, if you go down the whole street and look, you can find a wallet for less than 20 yuan. I'll chop off my head and kick you like a ball. This statement is true. It is indeed difficult to find a wallet worth less than 20 yuan in this market. The customer was tempted to think that they are still using a cloth packaging for money. Then I'll buy one. The person hesitated for a moment and took out 10 yuan, becoming the first customer to pay today. Look, there are so many boxes here, you can choose any one. Shen Yuan said, but you can't touch them, let alone pick them up. You can only tell me with your fingers which one it is, and my wife will give it to you. It turned out that Shen Yuan also brought his own wife. Why, there's no reason why something shouldn't be touched, the person asked in confusion. Brother, to be honest, this box contains wallets, shoes, belts, and leather clothes. The weight and size of these things are different, and if you shake them in your hand, you'll know what's inside. If you only pick the expensive ones, won't I compensate for everything? Shen Yuan said, also, the customers who buy them later won't have a chance to get thousands of yuan in leather clothes. As soon as Shen Yuan spoke these words, the onlookers immediately began to shout, saying that this person was not allowed to touch and that they should follow the rules. This person had no choice but to look for half a day and pointed to a box in the center. Wife, bring that box over. Shen Yuechuan gestured to his wife to take down the box and hand it over to the customer. The customer first carefully examined the box and found 2 seals. It seemed that they were indeed sealed goods from the leather factory. They immediately felt relieved and eagerly prepared to open them. And Shen Yuechuan also thoughtfully took out a small knife and handed it to the customer, allowing him to smoothly cut open the tape. He then opened the box 3 times, divided it by 5, and took out a beautifully packaged box from inside. It's a wallet. The customer's expression was slightly depressed as they were about to leave when the onlookers suddenly shouted, "Young man, don't rush to leave. Open it and see if this wallet is really genuine leather." "That's right." The young man immediately opened the packaging box in a daze. Not to mention, the design of the packaging box was very exquisite, and it was actually opened in half. The opening process required more than 10 steps, which was really impressive. The eyes of those around him were straight, and they had never seen such a beautiful and complex packaging in their lifetime. These are foreign trade goods ordered by foreigners, and these boxes are all designed by foreigners. They are very particular. In the United States, it's $20 per box. You know, if you exchange it for RMB, it's 160 yuan. Shen Yuechuan immediately explained with a loudspeaker. These explanations were specially instructed by Huang He to memorize during their training, and they were also assessed on the spot, requiring each person to memorize at least 10 sentences. Sure enough, with this commentary, the onlookers became more and more convinced of this foreign trade order. This is how the Chinese people nowadays are accustomed to using packaging to determine the value of goods. The most obvious thing is the mooncakes from that time. The price of a box of mooncakes is not related to the mooncakes themselves, but to their packaging boxes. At that time, the most powerful mooncake merchants even used pure gold to create packaging boxes, which can be considered the pinnacle of the packaging industry. The packaging here is the same. To be honest, Huang He had some skills before. He knew the principle of packaging first and specifically contacted packaging factories to design these fancy packaging. Unfortunately, he still failed. After a tedious process of unboxing, the wallet was finally taken out. The color was the most ordinary and universal black, with a glossy finish and a high-end appearance at first glance. "Let me touch and see." Suddenly, an old man with a white beard walked over. He took the wallet from a young man's hand, touched it in his hand, and said with great certainty, "This is cowhide, and it's also the top layer of cowhide. The leather used is a bit old and hard, isn't it?" "Expert." Shen Yuechuan showed a look of admiration. "These are indeed the hides of a group of old cows who have retired from the dairy factory." "That's right, I'm an old employee of SY Leather Factory. I can't touch any leather material." The old man chuckled, and the people around him were in awe. Then his eyes began to light up constantly. "Genuine leather goods only cost 10 yuan. Is there really such a good thing in the world?" At this moment, the old man looked at the young man and said, "Young man, this wallet is good. Do you want it? If not, I'll buy it with you for 8 yuan. "I want it, why don't I?" The young man immediately hugged his wallet tightly. The old man shook his head, and then took out 10 yuan and said, "Boss, I also want this blind box or something. I want that." The old man also ordered a blind box, and Shen Yuechuan's wife took it down with a smile and handed it to the old man. The surrounding gaze gathered again, staring at the old man, who was somewhat slow in his movements. He slowly opened the box and took out a large one from inside. Well, judging from the size of the box, it should be a pair of shoes. Damn it, there are actually leather shoes inside. The crowd was stunned. They never expected that this box would actually contain leather shoes. It only cost 10 yuan to open a pair of leather shoes. You should know, whether these shoes are genuine leather or not, even if they are made of artificial leather, the price of that pair of leather shoes has never been lower than 50 yuan. Surprisingly, it only cost 10 yuan. Amidst the envious gazes of everyone, the old man happily took out a pair of oily leather shoes from the box, then threw away the cloth shoes on his own feet. Stepping on these new leather shoes, he left proudly. "Boss, I still need to buy a box." The first customer saw the leather shoes on someone else's feet, and then saw the wallet in their own hand, immediately shouting recklessly. However, if someone pays attention to Shen Yuechuan's daughter-in-law's expression at this moment, they will find that the woman is trying hard to suppress her smile. She did not expect that her father-in-law's acting skills are quite good. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. A box of leather clothes, 10,000 liang of gold. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. A box of leather clothes, 10,000 liang of gold. Unfortunately, this customer did not buy their own box in the first place because more people had already crowded around Shen Yuechuan, waving the money in their hands and demanding to buy the box. The worst thing inside the box is a genuine leather wallet, and there are really leather shoes in it. This is a box that won't lose money no matter what. A fool wouldn't buy it. So more than a dozen people surrounded Shen Yuechuan, and in just a few minutes, Shen Yuechuan sold over 20 boxes of blind boxes. At the same time, it is very interesting that a second circle of people has formed around Shen Yuechuan. The first circle revolves around the core position of the tricycle, where there are around 10 or so customers who have purchased blind boxes, and at the same time, there are constantly more people joining. And the second round, there are more onlookers who are not here to buy, but to watch those who have already bought. There are more people opening blind boxes than buying blind boxes. And customers who purchase blind boxes also enjoy the feeling of being surrounded by everyone and vaguely becoming the focus of the entire venue. So almost no one chooses to go home and open the boxes again, and all of them are opened on site, making the atmosphere of the entire venue increasingly lively. It's a wallet. When they saw someone opening a wallet inside their blind box, they immediately burst into a burst of joyful laughter, which made the person who opened the wallet very unhappy. They muttered to themselves and went to buy another blind box. Leather shoes. It's leather shoes. Suddenly, a burst of alarm echoed in the crowd. It turned out that a customer had opened a blind box and took out another box of leather shoes from inside. Wow, that's the second pair of leather shoes. I'm also wearing leather shoes, I'm wearing leather shoes. The person who opened the wallet just now and then bought a blind box in frustration also shouted excitedly, thinking he had also worn a pair of leather shoes. The interval between the two boxes of leather shoes is no more than 10 seconds, and they were almost simultaneously opened, which made many onlookers dumbfounded. At the same time, they were wondering if there were really many leather shoes inside. Many onlookers suddenly feel that being a bystander is boring, so it's better to buy a box yourself. Anyway, it's only 10 yuan horizontally and vertically, and at least you can get a wallet. After so many customers opened the boxes on site, the onlookers basically believed that there would be nothing cheaper than a wallet inside the box. Buying such a box would definitely not result in losses. So, the crowd began to flow, and more than 20 people who were originally watching from the outside began to squeeze into the inner circle, waving their 10 yuan cash inside and shouting loudly to buy blind boxes. And miraculously, most of the people in the inner circle were unwilling to leave. They looked at the two people who had opened their leather shoes, were wearing them, and were showing off proudly, even though these shoes didn't fit well. They feel that as long as they buy another box, they will definitely be able to open a pair of leather shoes, and the one who earns the most will be themselves. So many customers choose to make secondary purchases and request to purchase another blind box. For a moment, the entire inner circle was overcrowded, and Shen Yuechuan himself almost collapsed twice. Everyone queue up. If it's an old man, come queue up. Whoever doesn't queue up, I won't sell my blind box to him. With more and more crowds, Shen Yuechuan had to accommodate too many people to queue up, otherwise he wouldn't even know who to give first, because almost every second, there are more than 10 hands at the same time, and he has to hand over 10 yuan bills to himself. This reflects the ingenuity of the pricing of 10 yuan. Firstly, in 2001, 10 yuan was no longer a very valuable banknote like the one Mr. Jia had just arrived in 1990. 10 yuan was already a price that many ordinary families could afford at any time, and the market had enough capacity to bear it. Meanwhile, unlike later blind boxes, which are priced at 59 yuan per box. To be honest, in 2001, if you dared to buy a blind box for 59 yuan, the market would slap you hard. Finally, the most convenient thing about the 10 yuan price is that there is no need for change at all. Everyone will have a 10 yuan bill in their pocket, so they only need to take out one bill directly, which is much more convenient than mobile payment. But even with such convenience, the number of people queuing quickly exceeded 20, and in addition, the number of onlookers increased to around 100. Even the security and patrol officers near the market were alarmed. They were originally here to maintain order, but now they are curiously observing the crowd unpacking while maintaining order. Damn it, it's a wallet again. I've already opened 5 wallets. I'm wearing leather shoes. Mine is a belt. Blind boxes were opened one by one, revealing the true face of Mount Lu inside. Some clever people began to secretly count the numbers, but they found that out of more than 30 blind boxes, 3 pairs of leather shoes were actually opened. That is to say, on average, there is 1 pair of leather shoes in every 10 blind boxes, and the market price of leather shoes is as low as 100 yuan. What does this mean? This means that it's not just about making a steady profit without losing money, but also about making a big profit. For only 100 yuan, you can buy a pair of leather shoes and 9 leather clips, which looks like a big profit. If you're lucky, you can still open 2 pairs of leather shoes and earn money at your grandmother's house. So, more intelligent people began to take action. They silently joined the queue, watching the blind boxes light up and cursing at the people in front of them for being too slow. Woo 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 woo. At this moment, a burst of children crying loudly came from the crowd. Judging from the sound, it was very tragic. At the same time, there were also angry scolding from parents. Everyone looked sideways, realizing that there was a child who was clamoring to buy a blind box, but their parents didn't agree, so they started crying. This is a very small matter, generally speaking, just give it a beating. But this child was exceptionally strong, not afraid of being beaten by his parents. In the end, he even ran to the side of a tricycle and lay on the ground, unable to get up or down, crying and shouting to buy a blind box to play with. This made the atmosphere of the entire scene even livelier. The onlookers around burst out laughing and said to their parents, "Their children are crying so badly. Buying a blind box wouldn't do much, it's only 10 yuan anyway. No, he's just a child. He can't use leather clips, shoes, belts, it's useless." His parents were also furious. If it weren't for the crowd around him, they would have grabbed the bear's ear and started a mixed doubles game. "Forget it, just buy one and treat it like I changed my wallet." Father couldn't bear it anymore and ran to the end of the line to queue up. When it was time for him, he let his unruly little bear choose a blind box for himself. "Dad, help me open it," said the bear child again, and the father could only reluctantly open the blind box while muttering, "Although 10 yuan is not expensive, I already have several wallets and really can't use them." Then, the blind box was torn open, and the father shook it for a moment, but surprisingly, the contents inside were not shaken out. Many onlookers exclaimed in surprise, because before, whether it was belts, leather clips, or leather shoes, they were all packaged smaller than the box and could be directly shaken out. There was no situation where they couldn't shake out yet, unless the box inside was big enough to be about the size of a blind box, just a small drop and throw it away. Damn it. Father put in a lot of effort to pick up the packaging box from the blind box, only to find that it was a huge packaging box with a pattern of a piece of clothing printed on it. Bang 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 bang. Suddenly, a sound of drums and gongs exploded on the scene. Shen Yuechuan pulled out a somewhat worn-out copper gong from somewhere, knocked it hard, and then shouted with a loudspeaker, "Congratulations to this child, you have opened a pure leather coat for foreign trade worth 2,000 yuan. This sound echoed throughout the entire scene, as if the entire SY city could hear this shocking sound. End of this chapter.